What? What do you want me to say?
Are we starting?
We just got out of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
Godzilla Resurgence. And it was kind of long.
Yeah.
It was kind of talky.
It was cool.
It was amazing when the Godzilla stuff happened.
Well, yeah, it's a Godzilla movie. You've seen the actual Japanese ones, right?
I mean, which ones? I've seen a lot of Godzilla movies. I've seen
the ones from
a
Japan,
lot of the Toho ones.
where they're pretty much all talking, and then Godzilla smashes stuff for about 20 minutes of the hour. And
the CIA
movie.
shows up for no reason. No, not the CIA. I'm sorry. It's the Interpol, right? And the whatever. Anyway, there's always a bunch of talking. Yes. Yeah. This
one had a little more talking than normal.
It felt like, so they're going for a satire thing here. They're going for a criticism of government as ineffectual and not really good at getting things done. This feels like a movie that would vote for Trump.
Kind of.
It's like, go the private sector, go the military.
Is Godzilla Trump? In this movie?
Trump is Godzilla.
This force of nature that doesn't really know what he's talking about, just does stuff and pretty much wrecks everything he touches.
And somebody needs to get it next to him and then inject something and it'll freeze him into a statue.
That's called
and once we will see his
direction. They put him in direction, tell him to go. He does things and they push him off stage.
Fair enough.
That's how you do Trump.
So this movie starts out with not what I would classically call Godzilla. He starts out very derpy in this.
It looked like a fetus.
Kinda?
Like what Godzilla would look like as a fetus, because you know how fetus go through the whole thing where they all look like chickens at one point?
Yeah, I guess.
It looked, because he's malformed, he's got little stumpy legs, which then rip open, but that was awesome.
Yeah, when that finally got to happening, but you start out, you just see the fins, and you think, oh, there's Godzilla, I see Godzilla, oh, there's the fins, that's great.
Shoving those boats out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, amazing miniature work, which should not be too surprising at this point, but they keep upping the game.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that this one really just, as an American coming from a society that dwells on disaster porn for their movies a lot, this one, it doesn't, again, we talked about it, there's so much talking, right? There's so much exposition happening. But when the disaster finally does happen, not just with Godzilla, but with buildings being knocked over and all of that stuff, it's glorious. It really works.
I do like the running gag of someone will say one thing, like, maybe it's a creature. That's impossible. Immediately, giant tail goes in the air. Just someone says something that can't happen, or at least something doesn't happen, and then that thing happens.
Yes. Well, again, that's sort of the government being buffoons and not knowing what they're talking about. Stuff going on with his tail in this. His fire breath and things that he can do are massively upgraded.
They are very much changed.
He's a little bit OP in this.
They're kind of altering old powers he's had. One thing that's interesting is this is the first time they've ever done a complete reboot of Godzilla.
Okay,
up to this point,
right?
every time they do a quote-unquote reboot, they've always kept the original as canon.
Yeah, like they said, we know something about Godzilla.
This is unprecedented. There is nothing setting them up for this, so this is completely throwing everything out there.
Right, which, I mean, makes sense if you're gonna have this idea of, the slow response, right?
Yeah, because if they've had it before, they're gonna have at least a document somewhere saying this is how we react to this.
Right, like, guys, wasn't this happen once before? Like, nobody would be saying it's impossible for there to be a giant sea creature that can walk around on land when there is a giant sea creature that's walking around on land. Obviously, you gotta have that. I would say this is a movie definitely worth seeing if you are a fan at all of Godzilla.
Yeah.
If you're like just looking for kind of a standard popcorn blockbuster movie, maybe not quite so much. No, you don't agree with me?
Continue with that.
I just think that it's we've got our little Caesars.
Yeah, that was our movie fuel.
Woo! Yeah, we
edit that out. Put a Godzilla graphic there. Just sitting in the back seat.
Professionalism from our already amazing sitting in the car review. But no, I thought that I really thought that the action worked. There wasn't a lot of it. I found myself being somewhat bored for a lot of the talking, and especially like the beginning, it played as comedy.
In the beginning, it's hilarious.
Yes,
it is a great satirical comedy at the beginning, and then it cuts to Godzilla's rampage, or not even rampage. He's just walking through the city, just causing chaos, and there's like really dramatic piano score, and people are basically dying in the streets, and mood whiplash, complete.
And up until the second time he attacks, we get the great dun 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 dun. I asked Brantley if we were gonna get it. He's like, "Oh no, we got it. We got all of the classic Godzilla music," which was I felt like a little bit wasted there because he just comes ashore and then leaves.
They did the dun dun dun, and then later on they had the traditional like Godzilla Triumphant military music when they're shooting them with the drones.
Was that what that music was?
Yeah.
I didn't
That was in the
that.
Heisei series more than the rest of them.
Okay.
Like the early Heisei, at least.
It sounded like it was a reference
Heisei,
to
whatever.
like not like it didn't feel like it was composed for the movie. I didn't know if it was like traditional Japanese.
It was
like,
previously used Godzilla
not
music.
traditional Japanese music, but like Japanese military music or something, or like not their national anthem, but something in that vein that would get them pumped up, nationalistic. But it makes sense if it was from previous parts of the previous moments in the movies. But then he finally has his real moment where he attacks Tokyo and they fight back, and all of that, the military action was really well handled. The helicopters coming in, you've seen a lot of that in the trailers. If you liked what you saw in the trailers, there's more of it, but it's not like a lot more.
Yeah.
And they do get into, once they get away from the satire and just focus in on these people sitting in a room trying to figure out how to deal with Godzilla, that's where, for me, it got like, all right, this isn't funny anymore, really. They're going to figure it out by the end of the movie. Like, now I have to sit here and watch them for like an hour and a half, be like, what if it's this? What if it's this? And they had, I mean, within that stuff, they had some really great editing, like, within the film, but from a standpoint of editing of, like, you could cut out some whole scenes.
Yeah.
That wasn't so strong. So they, like, a lot of these scenes ran long, that they were cut pretty well. The cinematography, I thought, worked great.
There were a lot of really interesting shots, like, from the perspective of objects.
That, and there was that one moment when the guy and the girl are talking about, the possibility of the nuke happening, and the camera pulls out and leaves them like, wait, so like, well, how do I do it? Like way down here in the tiny bottom.
They start here, and then the camera just pans until they're about
right, and it's pulling
here.
out, and you kind of get the idea that they're just sort of like, it's telegraphing the idea that these people are just like in their own minds are pretty important, but kind of against the world. There's so many other factors and everything that they can't control.
The girl who's supposed to be American.
Oh no, the American accents.
When they have Americans, it's fine, and she's supposed to be a second or third generation American. She says that Japan is her grandmother's country.
Right.
But when she speaks Japanese, she still has a very thick accent. It's adorable that she's doing it because she speaks very well English.
She speaks okay English.
I mean, it's understandable.
Yes, it's
have like.
It doesn't come across as anybody who would ever have grown up in this country.
No.
That's absolutely not the case. And even the people who they do have who are American actors...
They have Japanese people in there who respond to her in English, and they speak better English than she does.
They do. They really do. And the Americans are not well directed for speaking English. That's fine. I mean, it is a Japanese movie, and I'm willing to totally write that off. But it does, as an American, it kind of takes you out. It's like, it's not
It's also
right.
not great when the bombers are like, payback? Time for payback. Go.
We're gonna get him
so
back.
bored. Like, yeah, he killed one of our guys. Let's shoot him or something. Can we get
like you're in a Godzilla movie. Like, what's that? Did the
play a
director
bomber
be like, guys, tone it down, guys? No, too much. We should do the boring take. Yes, we like the boring take in Japan.
Maybe the other takes for them laughing too much because they're in a Godzilla movie. So let's shoot Godzilla, guys.
Maybe.
Calm it down, man.
There was also sort of a lot of great jokes about the United States political power.
They pulled a lot of those.
But yeah, I
feel like there was about equal them taking shots at the U.S. as well as their own country.
Yes.
And no point was like America sucks or our country sucks. It was like both have problems. Governments in general are kind of garbage.
As an American, I didn't feel offended by this.
The audience didn't. They laughed pretty much every time.
There was a lot of good audience participation. I will say, if you're the kind of fan of Godzilla that likes the fights, all right? If you like Godzilla versus, and who doesn't, all right? That can be pretty great. However, this is not your movie. Godzilla don't fight anything else.
Godzilla is alone in this.
He's alone. He's fighting the military. The military stuff is great, but it's not kaiju on kaiju action. It's very much singular.
There are some beautiful shots of the Godzilla suit. Because he's got this like iridescent red under his skin, and there are great blending shots of the suit in the background of actual scenes. And that one shot where his tail goes over the buildings,
yeah,
that is gorgeous.
He does a lot of waving his tail around. Like, I kept expecting it to go down. He's like got it up in the air the whole time, and I kept thinking like it was eventually going to flop down.
He's been doing that since the Millennium series.
Okay,
that's when his tail got like twice as long as he is.
It's also I will say they did chop it shorter. Yeah, like they gave it some extra stuff that it can do. I don't want to spoil that too much, but it feels like they just sort of, it even looks chopped off. It looks like, oh, there's something different going on. And that final shot, I don't know that I want to see a sequel to that movie.
Speculation on. And that, mild spoiler, but it reminds me kind of GMK.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that was going on in that movie.
I never finished GMK.
I'm
sorry.
I don't want to get into spoilers.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But you would have anyway. You would have gotten into spoilers for everybody else, but just not for me.
Well,
personally.
No, I don't want to spoil it for them.
Okay.
I'll spoil it for you all you want. The camera's on.
The camera is on.
Yeah.
But it did. Do you think that they're gonna follow up on that, or do you think it's just sort of like, hey, here's a creepy thing. What if it happened, and then?
I don't know, because I feel they're going to do more Godzilla movies. They're not going to stop.
Well, no,
obviously.
yeah, no. This is the last one.
But
I don't know if you got the memo.
It could be.
You mean like this? If this was just a standalone, it could just be.
It could be.
It does not require the existence of other Godzilla movies. If this dropped on its own right now, it would be as good as it already was.
I'm very interested to see if they're going to do like the traditional sequel or do what they did with Millennium, where it's just each movie its own continuity. I don't know.
I don't know either. You have anything else to say, Brantley?
It was cool. Watch it.
It was cool. You probably won't get it on theaters by the time. Well, there might be a few more showings by the time you get to this.
You might have a few hours. Go.
Run. I heard somebody say that all the other showings for the rest of the week are sold out, so Godzilla will be coming to DVD near you event pretty quick. If you can't catch
possibly
it in
only DVD. We're not sure about the Blu-rays.
They're not going to put it on like VOD or anything. It's just the DVD. They're thinking about like bringing back the VHS stuff.
I mean, when it came out of theaters in Japan, all they had for the US was just a DVD release, no theaters or anything. So maybe we'll get Blu-ray. Maybe.
I'm guessing there will be Blu-ray.
I hope so, because I'm going to buy it on whichever version comes out.
Thanks, guys, for watching. If you have liked this video, hit that like button on the YouTubes. Subscribe for more our awesome podcasts that we do. Too Weird Didn't Watch. And we'll probably never do one like this again, Brantley.
Maybe not.
But you never know. We'll leave the door
Next
open.
Godzilla movie.
The next Godzilla, the Gareth Edwards movie, that's coming out in like 5 or 8 years.
18.
Yeah. Maybe we can get together for Kong Skull Island.
Totally down for that.
Technically got kaiju.
And it's going to have a crossover Godzilla, so it counts.
We'll see you guys for Kong Skull Island, the review. In next year.
The car review.
Bye.